And I spy a problem with quote-unquote the favorites to win it all in the Boston Celtics, okay? They have not been clutch this season. We're talking about going into the postseason. They are 1-11 on potential game time of going-in shots.
The Boston Celtics might be the most storied franchise in the history of the NBA. Sorry, Lakers fans. They had a guy win 11 championships, a dynasty for 3 rings in the 80s, and then a really good team in the late 2000s to beat Kobe. The new variation of the Celtics is different, and could be looked at as one of the best teams they've ever had. And it all comes down to 2 guys. 2016 and 2017 brought the Celtics Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum respectively, and they've been in contention for the title ever since those 2 were drafted. But can they win it all this season? We've got to look at their history to find out. Since 2018, the first playoff run after Tatum was drafted, they have been to 4 conference finals, more than any other team in that span. Golden State and Miami both have 3 appearances, and Denver has 2. The Heat and the Celtics are the only ones out of the group to not win once they got to the finals, having 3 trips combined. This gives us something to say about the strength of the Western Conference teams, but we'll talk about that later. Let's go back to 2018, where a rookie Tatum leads the Celtics to 7 games against the Cavs. But come on, obviously no one in the East was going to stop 2018 LeBron. 2020 brought them back to the conference finals, but against the Heat, with the series ending pretty much in game 1 after this block by Bam Adebayo. 2022 was more interesting, with a strong 7-game series, ending with the Celtics finally winning and going to the finals for the first time in over a decade. They lost. 2023 was nuts. The Heat started out 3-0 in the series, then the Celtics came back to tie it, then lost in Game 7. Obviously, basketball is a team sport, but when it comes down to it in the playoffs, your best player needs to be stepping up, and Tatum has not been able to do that. Here are Tatum's stats every year he's made it to or past the conference finals. Notice the difference? You shouldn't, because there is none. He stays the same, and for the record, 25 points per game is not the level you want to be stagnant at as one of the best players in the world and a leader of your team. He hasn't hit that same stride that Giannis, Jokic, and even Kawhi have hit when they've won it all. So let's look at Kawhi's stats. Kawhi, regular season 27-7-3. In the playoffs, upped it to 39-4. Then in the finals, pretty much averaged the same as he did the entire playoffs, 29-10-4. Here's Giannis. Giannis, regular season 2021, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Bumps that up to the playoffs, 30 points, 13 and 5. And in the finals against the Suns, that man goes for 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists per game in a final series. Jokic has done the same. Last year in the regular season, 25, 12, 10. Then in the playoffs, ups it, 30, 14, and 10. Then in the finals, decreases a little bit in the assists, but it's Nikola Jokic. It's the same, right? 30, 14, and 7. Tatum has not yet shown that he can kick it up to another notch in the playoffs when it matters. He stays the same and even gets worse sometimes. But listen to me here. The season that he steps up big time will be the season the Celtics win the entire thing. The Celtics cannot have him maintain his regular season level if they really want to win, no matter how good their supporting cast is. You know how I can say that? Because that's what's happened every year in the playoffs. And I'm not soloing Tatum out here, by the way. The Celtics have been way more impressive than many teams during this run, okay? The Nets, the Clippers, the Sixers, and the current Suns come to mind when I think of teams that have underperformed, and the Celtics have done better than those teams since 2018. But just because you're more impressive than those teams does not mean you're the best. And you can't be the best just by being a little bit more impressive than teams who underperformed, right? That makes you average, okay? You need to do something different. Luckily, this year is already looking different. The Celtics in the Tatum era have never ever been the 1 seed until now. They are on pace to win 66 games this season, and on top of that, they've had 3 50-point blowout games this year. I am extremely confident in saying that they will end up with the best record in the NBA, giving them home court immunity through the entire playoffs. This is going to help soften the blow of playing teams like Milwaukee, Denver, the Clippers. The fact that every single Game 7 for Boston will be played in Boston is a huge deal. Only 37 Game 7s have been won by a road team in NBA playoff history, dating back to 1948. That comes down to 1 road win in a Game 7 every 2 years. This has got to be making you Celtics fans feel something on the inside, right? You gotta feel good about that. Speaking of the biggest threats to the Celtics, most of them are coming from out west, mainly being the defending champion Nuggets.
Jokic for the win. Oh, it's good! Jokic got it off in time.
The West has always been stacked, and for good reason. Let's go back 10 years, since that's enough time for most of today's players to have played this long. The West have won 7 championships and the East only 3. Those 3 East teams were LeBron's Cavs, Kawhi's Raptors, and Giannis's Bucks. 3 guys we've already discussed. Tatum's Celtics have already lost to a West team in the finals. And as far as standings go right now, the Celtics are far and away the number 1 seed, but the number 2, 3, and 4 seeds are all teams out west. The good news is they only have to face one West team, and that's in the finals. That's why we're gonna back it up a bit and acknowledge the fact that the East is not a cakewalk. Earlier this week, a heavily criticized Bucks defense held Kawhi Leonard to 16 points on 6 for 19 shooting and fueled their 15-point comeback win, all without Giannis on the court. Not to mention that Joel Embiid is looking to be healthy by the start of the playoffs, and there's no one in the league. No one in NBA history that can stop this man. And if you're thinking Embiid slips in the playoffs, think again. The Sixers are only 2 games ahead of the 8th seed as of right now. And you do not want to face Joel Embiid in the first round, especially where he's got nothing to lose. His MVP season is washed, and his team has not been holding together in his absence. So how much better would that make it to beat the number 1 seed in the league in the first round? I don't know, just something to chew on. Not to mention the Knicks and the Cavs, and teams like the Pacers have already throttled the Celtics this season. And the Heat? Dude, every matchup for the Celtics is going to be brutal. That's why Tatum needs to step up. The competition is only going to get harder, and if any injuries happen to the guys they need, I don't know if the Celtics can do it this year. They've blown out teams, sure, but I feel like they haven't been solid at closing games. Combine that with the fact that Tatum has not averaged more than 30 points in a dominant conference final or final series win, and that proves my point. Tatum has been and always will be the key to this team, but the Celtics cannot open a door to the finals if you lose your Tatum key.